Hey everyone, I'm Stephen Bailey, reporter with the Post Standard, here with two of the founding members and organizers of Black Oranges, Monica Belk and Brian Tarrant. I really appreciate both of you for coming on and explaining a little bit more about your group. It is a group of former Syracuse student athletes of color who are hoping to see change at SU and probably beyond that in regards to racial inequality. Let's just jump right in. I want to learn a little bit more about your group. Can you two tell me kind of how it came to be? I know it's about 6 weeks old, and a little bit about how it's built up to what it is now.
I guess I'll feel that. Well, it was pretty simple. I mean, like everybody else, we were watching the things that were happening. When you see the video with Ahmaud Arbery, it kind of hits many of us ex-athletes kind of the heart, because I mean, a lot of us, go out jogging and simple things like that. So to lose your life on something so simple, it's just sad. And then why, you read the story about Breonna Taylor and her just laying in her bed and being taken away. It's just, those horrible stories, and watching that video with George Floyd. So after all those feelings, I mean, for me, I just didn't know quite what to do. And this is the first time in my life where I saw so many people asking how could they help, and I didn't have all those answers. So what better way than to reach out to my peers and former athletes at SU. So I sent out an email to everybody asking if they wanted to jump on a call, and I had some ideas of what I wanted to do and wanted to see what they thought of it. And that they jumped on, and they took a simple little idea that I had, and they turned it into something pretty remarkable. So that's kind of how it all unfolded. It started from a Facebook Messenger email, and now we have probably about 200 people. So we're pretty excited, and we're looking forward to the future of hopefully making some difference.
Yeah, that's amazing to see that kind of growth in such a short period of time. Tell me a little bit more about kind of that first conversation over Messenger. What who else was kind of involved in that founding group, and what feedback did you get from them, and how did I guess shape the way that you've progressed these last 6 weeks?
Would you like to take that, Monica?
Well, I'll tell you this. Brian reached out to me, I think after he had maybe the initial first call, I think it was, he originally reached out to his former teammates, but because the issue is so huge, he knew that just his former teammates wouldn't be enough. So he was like, I want to expand this to all former athletes. So he reached out to me. He reached out to several other people that were not on the football team previously to form a collective of Syracuse alumni, because he knows and I know that we've all scattered and we are all entrepreneurs, we're business people, we have leading roles in our collective industries, and we have saying power. And everything that happened with the Not Again SU movement was a part of this too. How can we now interact and become a force to help be an advocate for those students that are currently there, and how we can help maybe guide them and lead faculty and administration in helping to discuss these issues and getting change happened on campus as well. So I think, it started as a Facebook message, started as a phone call. But as we got to talking, all of our spirits are in a place of, we need to help make this better in our own communities, in the Syracuse communities, and across the world. If we can reach that far, that's what our plan is.
Yeah, I think for me, one thing that I really want to push with this group, a lot of times, a lot of people, unfortunately, they think that the systemic oppression and police brutality and just everyday racism only affects a small percentage of people, or people with that are less fortunate or have less finances. And I wanted to bring attention that that's just not the case. Although many of us have been fortunate enough to take the tools we learned at Syracuse and be successful in our lives, we still have to face a lot of those challenges ourselves. And we really wanted the community, the Syracuse community, and then with such a large number of people, we're going to continue to grow. We wanted people to see that this affects all of their friends. The people that are in your office, they may be quiet, but a lot of them are hurting inside, and they're disappointed and frustrated and angry that a lot of our allies and our colleagues and our friends are silent when a lot of these bad things and horrible things happen. So we felt who better than us to bring attention to these issues that happen every single day. I mean, in 2020, we're watching us fight for things that my parents and my grandparents fought for. So something obviously has to change, and I think with this group of amazingly talented people, well, why not us to jump out there and try to join the ranks of trying to make some real change.
Yeah, absolutely. So I know one of the first big things you guys are doing is the social media campaign, the Get Off the Bench campaign on July 4th. Can you tell me a little bit? I mean, obviously we've seen social media campaigns. Black Lives Matter did, I believe, Blackout Tuesday. And just yesterday, a group of Syracuse football alumni put out a statement that was co-signed by like 120 people. And that effectively, when you have 120 people sharing something, whether that's the direct intention or not, it becomes a social media campaign of sorts. So can you tell me a little bit about what you're hoping to accomplish in a couple of days?
Sorry, Brian,
Okay.
you can take that.
So our hope, we have a 3.5-page list. That's a beginner's list of items that people can download and take action either within their communities, within their own education, educating children, and community reach out, that we hope on that day, July 4th, everybody just takes one thing and takes a picture of it and does it, and improves their lives and improves the lives of the people that are reading their posts, or maybe guides them in a way to starting a conversation, getting people to see what really is the problem with institutional racism, what's the problem with outright racism, what's, to start and continue the conversation, what's going on, and not let this overall feeling of what's been happening in the past few weeks go away. We're hoping to just continue the flow of moving towards a positive direction and getting real change to happen. We're starting here. This is our first thing we're going to do, but we have plans to basically reach out, and between doing Zoom calls with the school or getting some kind of, we're still in the works of figuring out what we're going to do during voting registration time. We're trying to make an impact within our collective communities, and then also be an example for other school alumni as well, to maybe get off the bench and take action on their side, and maybe make this a whole thing that spreads along the entire ACC or Old Big East or whatever. So, Brian, I know you have more to add.
Well, no, I mean, you covered a lot of it, so you stole a lot of my thunder right there.
I'm sorry.
No, that was awesome. I mean, again, this is more than a weekend campaign. I mean, we wanted to start out with something that would be fun and engaging, and why not? What's better than the 4th of July, and especially during a pandemic? It's not like people are going to be down, having 50 people over at their house. At least I hope not. So we were like, why don't we come up with something that can, one, give people something to do, but also give them something to do that's going to make them think about what's going on and how to better themselves and better our country. When you look at the list, and again, now I feel like when you look at celebrities and they plug stuff, but I hope people go on blackoranges.org, and that's where they can get the list. But if you go on there, the one nice thing about the list, it's something for everybody. The thing that can help with fighting systemic racism, it doesn't have to be big things. You don't have to go out there and march, and you don't have to walk up to a table of people saying ignorant things and yelling at them. It's just simple things of maybe even just getting a book and reading about, the different things that, read books that help you be able to recognize, biases, in whether it's biases in the workforce or biases in how police are serving our communities. Then we also have more in-depth things like, information to help you start voter registrations and other things that can help you with, learning how to join your police oversight board. So there's a bunch of things on there that allows anyone to be able to participate. And self-education is probably going to be one of the biggest things, because when you know better, you do better.
Right.
So this list will allow everybody to be able to go out and do that. And what better day than 4th of July?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Independence Day, you'd like to think a lot of the people reading those materials will be able to reflect a little bit on what independence means for different people. So I know you guys said you're still kind of brainstorming what you're and planning what you're doing moving forward. I've spent a lot of time thinking about current Syracuse athletes and their perspective. Like you mentioned, not again SU, to align yourself with that student body and people of color, while also having your scholarship controlled by the athletic administration and by the coaching staff. It's really, I'd imagine, an extremely difficult position for a current student athlete of color to be in right now. What do you guys want to try and do for that community and maybe to change the system to prevent, that kind of hamstrung situation?
Well, again, like you said, we're still figuring it out, because even with us, we have different approaches we want to take. There's different passions, even amongst our group, just from our different backgrounds. We're not, a lot of mistakes that people make, they think we're just one monolithic people, but we're very different. I mean, some of us that are from the South have different experiences than ones from the North or the West Coast. But I would say, right off the bat, that we're unified on is that we do want to engage with the university, and we want to do it in a way that we can be a resource for them, but also be a resource for, the young men and women that are there playing. There's opportunities to, use our resources to influence the school to give the kids that they want. I mean, one of the things that we're really lucky with is that we have Eton Thomas, that's part of our group, and he went back and actually talked to the kids, and he painted a picture that wasn't something that I saw reading articles and watching the news. I didn't know kids were walking around campus being fearful at night, and kids of color, and I even read somewhere, even in some of the Jewish kids, walking in groups because they were afraid to walk by themselves. And that's not the Syracuse University experience that I had. I never had fear. Now, I'm 6'4", 280 pounds, so I don't have a lot of fear, but I don't remember my fellow Black and brown students being afraid walking through the quad at night. And that's something that absolutely needs to change. And we'll engage with the students that are there and see how we can help out. And then we'll also engage with the university. But there's plenty of things that we're going to want to do to be able to inspire kids and give them a voice.
I agree. I think our biggest thing is advocacy. We've been there, we've done that. We're not experiencing the same thing that they are. So we need to have the conversation with them to understand where we can fully help and assist their needs, or their, what's stressing them out, or what needs to happen with either faculty administration to make it smoother for them. Some of the things that came out in Eton's discussion with us, telling us about his discussion, it was mind blowing. And honestly, in a college environment, I would never think that is okay, and it shouldn't be okay. And so that's a really strong feeling in my, I have 2 children. I don't want to, I couldn't imagine putting them in a place, and I love Syracuse University. I couldn't imagine them putting them in a place and having them experience that. It's not right, and it needs to change. So, we love our school. We love our school experience, and we want those kids to love it as well. So anything we can do to help that and to make it better that's our goal. But we need to have a conversation and make sure we're putting our efforts in the right place and doing it pointedly to really affect change.
Yeah, absolutely. So did Eton speak with a particular group of current athletes? Can you tell me a little bit
No,
more
it
about how
wasn't
that
the
went?
athletes. It was the kids I can't remember exactly what building they were in, but when the kids were
Oh, Kraus
protesting,
Heinz.
Yeah.
yeah. And so
Okay,
he met with actual the leaders of that
gotcha.
movement. So he has a lot of insight. And then for the rest of us, again, the biggest thing that we can all do first before we talk is listen. And before we speak too much on any of that, we really have to engage with those young people, and especially the ones that are coming back. So before we speak too much on what we want to do and what we will do, um, I don't think that would be fair to talk about those things without listening first. So we're going to make the steps to make sure we get in touch with those young people and hear their voices, and then be an extension of that. And then in all fairness to, the university, we want to, we need that information so then we can have that conversation with the university to see what they're doing about it.
Right.
Because we all love Syracuse. You talk to any of us, our license plates, mats in our front doors, like, we bleed orange. So we want to make sure that place is a reflection of what we know it can be, and we want to help out with that. And then even more than just a campus, we want to make sure that it spreads out throughout the community and in our respective communities where we live.
Yeah, that leads into my next question. I was going to say, it seems like you have a lot of different areas you want to cover, or maybe not a lot, but as opposed to focusing just on the campus, it's clear you want to educate the broader community. Have you thought about how, I guess, you want to kind of mobilize? You have a couple hundred people you said that are now in this. How do you go about, I guess,
That's the beautiful
assigning
thing.
people?
So that's the beautiful thing. We've had more Zoom. I'm ready to become a Zoom instructor. I've had more Zoom calls
Clearly.
with everybody.
I'll take your lessons.
That's the amazing thing is that we definitely wanted to start with Syracuse because that's our home, but we wanted this to fan out eventually because unfortunately, you don't get to live in a bubble, and even though things may be great on campus, outside influences come in. So at some point you've got to address that, and that's going to be important for us. And the things that we're going to focus on are really giving people the tools to be able to make real change. So when you go on that list, there's going to be things on there where it teaches you how to write a bill. We're going to have things on there that are going to teach you, what you should look for in local elections. So, how we vote, how we educate ourselves before we pull that lever. Those are the things that we can do, and it doesn't take a lot of time, and it has really big change. So educating people and getting information out there in their respective areas is going to help. And we're also going to do that for the kids that are there. I mean, you mentioned something earlier that, kids have scholarships over their heads, but I mean, you look at what's happened over the last 4 or 5 weeks, kids have made big differences. Look at the kid unfortunately, I don't remember his name, but the kid at Mississippi State who said that the running back, he wasn't going to play anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not going to sit here and say that because of that's what made them get rid of, but that definitely played a part. You had a lot of other kids on that team and over at Ole Miss saying that they weren't going to do it either. And then you had the coaches that fell in line as well. Look at Oklahoma State. That kid made one statement on his Twitter, and within 2 hours, the chancellor and the athletic director was saying something, and then 2 days later, the head coach Gundy was, making his own personal video. So they do have voices. I mean, I think they have to be careful and they have to be mindful because there's, their actions have, consequences. But they're not as weak as they may think. They carry a big voice, and a lot of people look to them for leadership. So. I commend the young people and what they're doing now. I'm definitely listening to the things that they're saying and doing, and I commend them.
It was Kylan Hill, by the way, for Mississippi State running back. It was like I know it was Kylan, but I couldn't remember his last name. So just to let you know, Kylan Hill.
Kudos to that young man.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. honestly, like part of our get off the bench, I think, metaphorically speaking, from my perspective, we're not a, we are a different generation, where we made inroads to start gaining this kind of power and in our communities, in our environments. But the people behind us, the next generation, those are the movers and shakers, and those are the ones that are really affecting change. And however we can assist in that, and however we can make it easier for them to make the change and make it right, that improves us to the next generation and next generation. So that's that. Like, get off the bench means that, like, we've done our part, to get where we are, but now we need to get off and do more and be a part of this movement that's happening, and really with our power, because we have a lot of power, and collectively we really have a lot of power. So to affect change however we can. So.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think when you see the larger groups of players working together, that's where the power lies, as opposed to maybe and one or two individuals can do something, but Clemson's football team basically ran a protest and I think a small march. And I know the Syracuse football team had a deep conversation with Dino Babers, the head coach, about, making their feelings known and encouraging him to put his voice out there. So it's been really cool to see player empowerment over the last few weeks. I guess with all we've kind of talked about, do you think there's anything important about Black Oranges, what you guys have done in the last 6 weeks, and what you guys are planning for the future that you don't think we've hit on?
I think we've touched on a lot. Monica, if you have something, please jump in. But I think the big important thing that we're going to see as time moves on is that the blackoranges.org, that community, that online community, it's going to be something special, because it's going to allow anyone, not just athletes or brown and black student athletes or black and brown students. It's going to really allow anybody in our community that wants to do more, to arm them with tools to be able to do that. And what I want to see is, 5 years down the road, 10 years down the road, that we have a relationship that's built on trust with the university and also with the current students, to say, hey, listen, we're here to listen, we're here to help, and we'll use our resources that we've been fortunate enough to have to be able to facilitate that. Because, before we can talk about the rest of the world, we need to make sure that our home is straight, and that's what we want to do.
I agree. I think he said it very eloquently. This is a growing and organic movement where it's going to grow and get bigger as we continue on. And I think, the exciting part of all of this is that we have so many people that we have in this group, this collective, that just have so many different talents and so many different assets and so many different just positive things going on in our life. Collectively, it's something I hope that I see grow exponentially. So I'm excited, and I'm excited that we're doing something positive, and that we're all putting our heads together and making a pointed effort to create change, and in all platforms, in our communities, and hopefully, like, we're support for each other's jobs and just being advocates there for each other there, at the school, for current students, for faculty, for administration. If we can be somebody that they can talk to understand something, that's great. As long as it's going to improve this country, I am so for it, and I'm excited for it.
And the thing I love about it is, like, we had our Zoom call. We called it a huddle, like a town hall huddle. And it was awesome. I mean, we probably had 60 people, 50 people on that call, and just looking at the gamut of people. I mean, we had sheriffs on the call. We had military on the call. We had school teachers. We had stay-at-home moms. I mean, every sport, you name it. We had wrestlers on there, Rich Santana all the way from Sacramento. We had Garland Hawkins from DC. We had just so many. I mean, Raj Saha from, he's the general manager of the Bucks Stadium. I mean, and then he handles all their entertainment. You look at Roland Williams and the things that he's done. It's amazing to be able to watch somebody go from a football player to now being a businessman and an entrepreneur. And so we have all of these great assets that we can use and these people we can tap into. So we're going to use those things to help make a difference. And hopefully the students and the administration will be happy with the results. So we're just here to help. We love our school, we love our community, we love our country. And we're just at the point now where we're tired of seeing the Ahmaud Arbery's and the George Floyd's and the Breonna Taylors, and we're just done. So we're going to use our resources to make it better.
Well, I appreciate both of you coming on. Thanks so much for sharing more about Black Oranges. And, I'll be looking out on July 4th for the Get Off the Bench campaign.